Yeah, there's a new lady that just started. Her name is Cindy Hall. I can forward you her information. Jean is probably the more knowledgeable. All right.
Okay, good morning. Let's call this to order. It's 8:31. We've got pretty full agenda, but most of it should move fairly quickly. We have several minutes to approve. May 3rd, May 4th, May 5th, the 12th, and the 21st. Do we have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to adjust the agenda a little bit because Chauncey's here and he has to leave by 9. So we are going to move to the part about discuss and consider response to City of Fairfield's letter. Now, here's how we differ from the city. Since there's 3 of us, much of the city's work is done in committees and then it's taken to the council. They have a city administrator. We are basically the county administrators, all 3 of us. And so our committee's work is done in the various committees that we're on. This one happens to be one of my committees. And we've been working through the response from the 28E letter that we received from the City of Fairfield.
Sure.
I have a very, very rough draft that I gave to the board that we're not approving today, but I just want them to be informed.
So the county is in receipt of a letter from the City of Fairfield. It's dated March 26, 2020. I believe that's actually March 26th of 2021. Received by the board, I believe, last week. And we are discussing the proper avenue for response. Essentially, the city at this point is officially requesting modification of the 28E, which provides for joint operation of the law center, which has been in effect in its current form since '99, and the building of the new law center out there on Grimes. The 2080 itself dates all the way back to 1971. The request from the city is essentially, so to take a step back, that 2080 governs the operation of that building to include the delineation of spaces within the building, as well as certain maintenance responsibilities and the operation of the dispatch center. As the 2080 is structured right now, dispatch is operated, the equipment is operated and maintained by the sheriff's office, and the personnel are provided for by the city. That's essentially the separation of responsibilities there between the city and county. The city's letter is specifically requesting to, quote, take responsibility for all financial costs associated with dispatch center, maintain the employment of the dispatch center personnel, and then transfer, I'm not quoting here, they would like to, for the county to transfer the equipment that it is in possession of to the city, and to essentially take the dispatch center out of that 2080. So this is not a new issue. This was, has been in consideration and in discussion for the better part of the last 3 years, at least, if not longer, to various ends. There was some discussion earlier about having dispatch taken over by the county or placed into a operation under the purview of the Emergency Management Board. However, this proposal by the city is now asking to take the operation of the dispatch center outside of the 28E and transfer full responsibility to the city itself. So I would advise that the county draft some type of response, and I think in some off-the-record discussions between myself and some of the supervisors, it might be a good idea for us to propose some type of a joint meeting between the city and the supervisors to essentially get everybody on the same page. I think these things are better hashed out in person as opposed to shooting letters back and forth to each other. And I think that if everybody could kind of be in the same room at the same time, maybe we could reach a better understanding.
I agree. And the county does want to work with the city, but we want it very well known that when the 2080 is open, it includes dispatch. It's everything. So basically everything in that's on the table. And you have kind of a history here, financial information. I don't know how much in depth we want to go, Chauncey. Also, some key points, dispatch services must be provided, period, by law.
Yeah, that when you call 911, somebody needs to pick up the phone and respond to send an officer to respond. That's not something that's up for debate.
Parts of the 2080 are divided at 67%. Part of it's 50-50. So it just depends which parts it is. I know the county took a lot of extra expense the last, 18 months on the new tower, and has worked a lot with emergency management on that and 911. So we have various options that we can go, and I don't know procedurally how you want us. Do we want to go ahead and set a meeting with the city? We need to meet when your schedule permits more on this to flesh it out.
Well, I would propose that we draft a response letter and request a joint meeting between the city council, the full city council, and full board of supervisors, and kind of have this conversation with all the decision makers in the room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very rough draft, just to get an idea of what we're talking about.
Yep.
We can get you a copy of the 2080 if you want. Okay, any questions? Comments? I know this is new information, and please reach out to Chauncey if you want more information. Okay, if not, we will move on. Okay, since Chauncey's still there, we're gonna also talk about discuss and consider application process for American Rescue Plan funds. I've been on at least 3 various webinars learning about that. I would recommend anybody that's interested, and especially this board, go to NACO.org, NACO.org, and also ISAC. There's recordings that can be extremely helpful. I made a copy for you for the one fact sheet, and there's a lot of information on those websites, but between now and next week would be very helpful to start, educating ourselves on this individually. It's going to be very complicated. I know I'm on a work group with ISAC. This meeting it has auditors, supervisors, counties that have business directors on it to really try to flush this out.
Dee, are you talking what we can spend it on or how we can spend that?
I'm talking about how to even get the funds right now, because that's a huge barrier that we have to
And why is that a barrier?
because procedurally, typically it'd be the auditor's office, and I did invite him to come today, and I was told Friday he would not be in attendance.
I think we probably need him to be here.
I've asked. And
What do we do in place of that?
Is there a
This is a
reason
lot of money.
why he isn't interested in this, or?
well, I
Can't say.
Chauncey, if the auditor is not in this, who else can we get to help us to get these funds? This is a lot of money for our county.
Yeah, the barrier is, the procedure is we need a DUNS number, a SAM registration, which we have, and ID.me, which is facial recognition software for whoever applies for it. That is the barrier.
We need to essentially establish a point of contact that is going to do all those things.
When can we do that?
I was told on Friday by Shannon that they are working with some other auditors, and she's really researching this. Shannon is. A week ago Friday, I was told by the auditor that they wouldn't be applying for it because of that facial recognition. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get it. Yeah, Chris.
I had a conversation last week with the state auditor, Roxanne, because he's been involved in several other administrator meetings, and he was quite interested to understand why that process wasn't going to be followed through with our local auditor. His office indicated that they were going to be researching this specific document again, and then move forward with some type of assistance for all 99 counties. Because this money is to be utilized appropriately for all 99 counties.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
So that's part of the reason I'm here today.
Yeah.
Because this directly impacts the local public health department.
Right.
And our concern and the board's concern is when we have CARES funding already reimbursed, that money is available. And then if the other funds are not applied for, then the CARES funding will go back to the general fund. So I have some genuine concerns about the lack of participation on the elected officials.
That's right.
I'm an elected official. I'm not elected. I take my responsibilities to my county very seriously.
We kept a DUNS number.
We have one as
And
well.
I think the same program, some award management program, it's just a matter of
they have that.
register with the federal government.
It's the ID.me that's the problem.
I don't believe so, but we've kept the DUNS number for years, reapplied.
And State Auditor Roxanne, sometime within the first couple of weeks of June, is going to have a webinar for the supervisors in the state and anybody else, I'm sure, that wants to give us the information that he has. The NACO organization, which is National Association of Counties, has been extremely helpful. They are working directly with the Department of Treasury. And if we have questions specific for them, we can email. I've sent you the links to NACO.org somewhere in there. Info at.
It's my understanding that there's nothing in the American the finance that obligates the auditor or somebody in his office to be that point of contact. We just need those 3 boxes to be ticked. So in theory, if there was another point of contact that wanted to be designated by the board, we could do that, or this board could do that. But there may be some additional hoops to jump through if there are people with DUNS numbers, but would need to get that recognition photo taken.
Yeah.
I think it's the county DUNS number. It's not my number specifically. It is one number for the entire county of
Right.
Jefferson. So I guess I'm struggling with this.
The road department has a DUNS number from before 2013 when we applied for FEMA funds. And I don't believe that number is the same as the other DUNS numbers.
Well, I got my number from Shannon, so I assumed it was the county's number. I mean, I don't understand. Every other line item goes through the auditor's office.
Mhm.
Receivable, payable, I'm really confused with this process in which this is a delay.
That's why we're having this conversation.
You know, again, okay, you have these numbers, and I really appreciate that knowledge. But how do we get this money? Who else can do this? Can the treasurer do it?
Yes.
He could do it, a supervisor could do it, any county
I just
employee.
think we need
Should
to
we
do something
designate?
because this is a lot of money for our county and we can't afford this not.
I don't want to wait too long.
I don't want to live it all.
Require facial recognition to register and understand.
No, it's 3 steps. One is Dunn's, one is Sam. They have that. The third one is ID.me, which involves facial recognition of the individual, a social security number, and a passport number or equivalent.
I think that's essentially establishing a point of contact in the event there is some concerns for fraud in the future, that there is, you know, a very specific person that is responsible and at least maybe, you know, in charge of communicating with the federal government as far as their response.
Any ideas?
Does one of the deputy auditors not, I mean, is it under the direction of the auditor that no one in the auditor's office is going to participate?
That's what I was verbally told. Have I received that written? No. I did have a more encouraging talk on Friday with Shannon. He's doing some research and talking with some other county auditors. So I wanted to have this discussion so people know what our initial barrier is. We could start some work sessions to start, you know, talking about use. We know there's probably going to be a lot of wants and needs, and that's something we're going to have to spend some time and really focus on. So I don't know if you want to start those. I would anticipate those would be more work sessions that we would not be taking action at. Any action that would be taken would certainly come to a Monday or Tuesday meeting, whatever day we would have our normal meeting.
That's very commendable, but we need to make sure we get this money.
Right,
That is a big issue. You can't spend what you don't have.
right. And it's my understanding from these webinars that once you apply for these funds, we'll get them within a week or two. It's a pretty quick turnaround. Initially, they only had 29 counties in Iowa on the U.S. Department of Treasury website. And ISAC sent that in and corrected it, so everybody should be on there now. But, you know, it's like any new program, it's a work in progress. But this is specific with the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah, and you know, we've known this is coming since March 11th.
Mhm.
And the information just really coming out, sorry.
Sure, it's May 24th. We just need to get on this. And I think we as supervisors are ready. I think, you know, Chris and Bart are ready. The public is ready. We just need the money. We need to.
Right.
Now, I've got discuss and consider on the agenda if you want to make any motions.
Well, what type of motion are you actually looking for? Trying to divert this to a different office so that we can actually get it done and produced? Because it seems like the only stumbling block is someone doesn't want to be part of facial recognition software in a particular office. And it's kind of like a candidate for an interview told me that he was very interested in the job. And then when he was asked for coming to do it, he asked if you had to wear a face mask in the office that he was going to be interviewed in. And he said, we told him, yes, you need to wear that. And then he said, well, I'm no longer really interested. You know, and those are personal choices. But in this case, one person making a personal choice that affects the entire county because of financial dollars that can come in to help us out at this time when we need it seems absolutely absurd as far as I'm concerned.
Chauncey and I have had that conversation, and I asked him what can we do about it, and he mentioned, and please correct me if I'm wrong, unless it's in the Iowa code. I mean, would this be something that enforce
You're asking if
to
the
get the
board,
auditor to do this?
well, unfortunately, unfortunately or not, the obligations of every elected official are set forth in the Iowa code, and acceptance of federal rescue dollars has not been anticipated by the legislature. So it is certainly not an enforceable duty on the part of the auditor. So,
what are our options as a board?
I would, my first recommendation would be to try and consult with the auditor, see what his thoughts are, and maybe get him to talk about this. My second recommendation would be to delineate and designate a second office to be the administrator of these funds. I think that it would be appropriate with the treasurer's office or another office in the county with the DUNS number and with all the other ducks in a row.
I would encourage both of you to talk to him, because I already have.
The treasurer,
No, the auditor.
is he here yet today?
Don't know, I got it.
It's not 9 o'clock.
I'll go over and see.
Would you?
Sure. So that's what that's about. And in that same note, to give you something to think about when I run over there, discuss and consider NACO membership. It's $450. We used to, NACO, National Association of County Organizations. Anyway,
I do think that there's a time component to this, that we should probably do it sooner rather than later. Obviously, I don't think that the funds are going to dry up, but as with federal funding, a lot of times there's a pot of money that's designated, and if it's not claimed by a particular time,
Then it goes.
I don't think that's
somewhere else.
going to happen next week, but it's certainly not something we want to wait 6 months on.
Right.
I agree with that.
What I sent you for my board of health minutes last Thursday, that's exactly why those recommendations are written, the way they are, and my board wants it taken care of as soon as possible. Thank you.
Has anybody talked to Mark, the treasurer?
I don't know whether Dee has talked to him or not. So they're not on.
Scott's out today, and he told his staff that they're not yet ready to talk about it in a public meeting. And Shannon suggested each of you talk to them individually.
To them or to him?
I would talk to Scott. You can talk to Shannon too.
No,
He's got her working on.
Yeah,
things.
when will Scott be here?
I didn't ask. He's not here today. Okay, so we'll put it on the agenda for our next meeting. It'll be a holiday next week, so we'll put it on
For Tuesday.
for Tuesday. Hopefully, and between now and then, I hope that we can have an answer.
And maybe somebody would want to touch base with the treasurer and see if he might be open as a secondary option.
I would,
will do that.
yeah, I already did, but I would like, yes, why don't you do that too? Thanks, Chauncey.
Thank you, Chauncey.
Yes.
Just make a comment, and then I'm back over to you.
Or
So this, I said this when you stepped out, this is why the document, the minutes that you have from the Board of Health, the Board of Health is concerned for this exact conversation. They don't feel that it's appropriate to wait for that extra funding. You have the minutes of our meeting on Thursday. I would ask that that be on the agenda for the next Board of Supervisors meeting.
The CARES funding, is my understanding, has been extended till the end of December. You're talking CARES
I'm
funding.
talking the CARES funding that is currently in the Board of Health budget line item,
Right.
the revenue, but no expenditure line item. The board would ask, my board would ask that the auditor give us an expenditure line item to expend those dollars, so at the end of this fiscal year, it does not roll over to the general fund. That's Mr. Bergmeier's concern.
Right, yeah, that's a question for the auditor, because
I
it's,
understand that, and this is why I'm bringing this to a public meeting.
Yep.
Because it doesn't get taken care of.
I understand your concern, but it is my understanding that the state auditor recently extended the applying for those funds, not at the end of June, but the end of December,
I'm
so that's
talking
good.
about the CARES funding
That
that's
is
currently
CARES.
in my, but I think it needs to be taken care of sooner rather than later, so the health department and other departments can move forward with their budget process. This is the end of the fiscal year. We need to, my department needs to move forward with regular public health duties at the time. And this is one of the barriers that continually is brought up. And the Board of Health said if we need to have a special meeting with the supervisors, they would be happy to do that.
Yeah, that might be a good thing to do. I don't know.
So you're saying you just want on the agenda?
The action items that the Board of Health took last Thursday. Yes, that's the request of the board and me.
So we can either do that a week from tomorrow, or we can do a Board of Health meeting.
The next regular scheduled Board of Health meeting is not until July, what is it, third and Thursday? 22nd, I'm looking at what Joe said, I don't know what the date is for sure. Third Thursday of July, but they said that they would have an extra meeting, but I don't understand that.
The 15th.
Yeah, I don't, need glasses, I don't understand, I guess I don't understand why we need to have a separate meeting yet again, another meeting. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, both the recommendations of the Board of Health, so.
I personally feel we just need to just discuss it and deal with it and move on from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so let me know, I'll anticipate that's on the next agenda, is there anything you need from me? I mean, I've got Roxanne's email, if he needs, I have his phone number,
I have,
No,
he needs to call him, he was.
I'd like a cup of coffee, Chris, but no.
Drink up mine, sorry, Susan. Anything else on the health department side of things?
No. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much, thanks for letting me jump in ahead of the agenda, I appreciate it.
okay, let's go with county engineer, Scott.
Did we acknowledge the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Wanting to double check.
Come on up, Billy, and we're gonna do the road superintendent too. Billy Gross. Okay, you have anything new for us, Scott?
Let's see, the weekly accomplishments for 3 weeks. Blading of gravel road and dirt road, blading for dust control on Brookville, Mint, Walton Road. Those were dust control also. And let's see, brush cutting in District 2. Edge rutting on Pleasant repairs along the sides of Pleasant Plain Road, Germanville, spots on Glasgow Road, Stockport Road. Entrance repair, Backwood Road, Field Drive by Wood Thrush Park was repaired. Equipment maintenance on the motor graders, blades, service, general service, tires. The mower tractors are serviced and are ready to mow. Mowing of the various yards around the secondary road department, rock hauling to spots in all districts, and Nutmeg was re-rocked. And dust control, rock hauling was done. General sign repair and installations. On the 146 Boulevard project, they're still dealing with Iowa Bridge and Culvert on getting Iowa Bridge and Culvert put in for reimbursement of some piling. And since we haven't started that project yet, and there's been a pre-construction meeting or anything like that, they can put in for the stockpiling, but it depends on where it's being stockpiled and things like that in terms of how much we pay them, and whether we pay them. So Jeff Fadden for Calvin Burns has requested from Iowa Bridge and Culvert, Doug Bradley, that they send in some certifications and invoices, and those were sent. But they still need a couple of other items before we can submit the voucher on it to get them paid for the piling that's going to go to that job. The piling is not stockpiled on.
So what's the plan to get that done?
Yeah, he's
We'll get it done.
working on it. I mean,
Okay.
you have to ask the bridge contractor for items that are still needed, and they have to provide it before we make the payment. See. So I've also, we have the completion certification for the projects on Pleasant Plain and on Vetch. And one of the things that was mentioned by Doug, well, no, by Kent Ellis, was sealing of one crack on Vetch Boulevard and then numerous cracks on Pleasant Plain Road. Vetch Boulevard, underneath it, Pleasant Plain Road, we resurfaced over concrete. And so all of the cracks, any of the cracks on both projects have been sealed, and I sent the photos to Ken Ellis, the company that was in those regional personnel. Let's see, I've also communicated with Jeff Fadden about other project closeouts.
So where are we in this project closeout?
We sent all the documentation from our office to them. They sorted it out into the various projects. They have a list from the DOT, what is needed to be.
And where are we on that?
He said he will get some personnel to dive into it this week. I mean,
Okay, so give us
we
a
had to
report.
transfer information to them so that they can do the work.
Okay,
And they could need some other things that potentially should already be in there, or that the DOT also has, but in case they need things like the funding agreements between the DOT and the county, we have those and we can send them, and they'll request copies of those if they need them. And that's where we stand.
okay, anything else?
Not related to the closeouts.
Okay,
You've probably seen an inquiry from Maharishi City.
yes.
Haven't responded to it yet, but they're not correct in some of the.
So you will direct a response?
Yes.
Okay, will you copy us on that, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Wanted to do that.
All right,
That's all.
Billy,
Okay,
where would this Billy Drew, Drug Superintendent?
I brought you guys some information on, we were talking about doing base stabilization on some roads. That involved buying specialized pieces of equipment to do that. I brought you information on costs and the process of doing it. We were intending on buying the machine that mixes this into the road for next year's budget. There's that additional equipment that's needed as well to ensure that we do it properly. We go through, it needs 3,000 ton per mile to do this correctly. We did it on Nutmeg, north of Heartland, a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. We only put 800 ton per mile on that, and it's shown that it hasn't worked. We actually just got done putting 1,400 tons of rock on that road to bring that road back into shape.
Yeah, it looks much better.
So the price of doing that, plus the fact that our county dump trucks can only haul 12 tons at a time, that's 250 dump truck loads to do this right, and that would take us forever. Extra equipment would be another water tanker truck. That stuff needs a phenomenal amount of water. Just the labor of doing it and being there. You have to be there 2 weeks afterwards, rolling it and regrading it.
Mhm.
Some other counties have had it happen where they did it and it rained, the road just turns into an absolute mud road.
Yeah, I've been on it when it was
So
like
they
that.
close the roads down until it heals.
So you have a new proposal for us?
So what I proposed is something similar we did last year on a stretch of road east of Louisville, Juniper. We actually rebuilt that road. We pulled the ditches up and put the dirt in the road and compacted that. And we put 1,000 ton of stone on it. We watered that, we rolled it, and then we sprayed it with a mixture of calcium chloride and water. And in February, when I made this proposal, right after the snows, that was the best stretch of road in the county. It was better than Nutmeg. That road wasn't dusty all year. It was just an amazing road. So what I was proposing, instead of getting the road hog, we get 2 semi-tractors and belly dump trailers. These belly dumps can haul 25 tons around.
Wow.
And I mean, we'll be getting the same fuel mileage as the dump truck that only can haul.
So if we get these, will this help us in the future with?
Even if we wanted to do base stabilization in the future, we're already gonna have more rock on the road than we got now. We talk about contract rock and we get upset. Last year, we didn't get contract rock. That's 200 ton per mile. 200 ton per mile spread out across your gravel road is a half an inch thick of 1 inch road stone. At 1,000 ton per mile, that's gonna give you 2 inches of rock, which doesn't even sound like that much, but that is gonna make
It's quite a little
a
bit.
good road.
Yeah.
Even at that, I mean, we're still gonna need the contract rock every other year on that road. Everything's bigger, it smashes the rock. So
But what will be some other uses in the future for these belly?
these belly dumps can run all year long
Okay,
versus the road hog machine in this system. We're gonna use maybe twice a year for 2 weeks out of the year. These things can run all year except for the winter time.
okay.
We can use these on shouldering highways as well.
So basically, that's a swap in the budget cost wise.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's other counties that have the belly dump trailers.
Yeah, all of our surrounding counties has 2 to 4 of them.
Mhm.
They're just a more efficient way to haul them.
Is this bothering you?
You need a class A CDL, and I would say 70% of my guys already have that. I have a few that don't, and that is just a test away.
We've been mentioning on when we hire that class A CDL get preference. So we can get preference over somebody that just has class B. Didn't make it a requirement.
And you're saying this $200,000 is both for the semi-tractors and the belly dump trailers?
Yeah, so we would like to
And
buy
they were used,
new trailers
right,
and used trucks.
used tractors?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would, their proposals on the new trailers, exact cost, but they take some time to build.
Mhm.
And then if supposing that the board approves this, then you could start looking for the used.
Yeah, I would like to order the trailers now. I have quotes on the price of steel is going up.
I want the prices locked in right now, Bill.
The gentleman from ITM told me that he would honor my quote.
Because that stuff's going up like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Not very much longer. So I told him I had a meeting today. So this is kind of my last chance to do that.
And tell us about the prices and the bids and the difference in the quality.
I got 2 bids from our main salesman in this area, ITM, which is out of Storm Lake, Iowa. It's Iowa Trailer Manufacturing. And I also got a quote from Jeff Krug, who sells Trail King through Altovers. These trailers they're within $300 of each other. The Trail King is $300 less. But I feel that the Iowa Trailer Manufacturing trailers are built better. I've looked at them both. There's 2 of our surrounding counties that have each, and ITMs are a better trailer.
What we need to do is approve the purchase of these.
Right, change direction from purchase of the road hog to the purchase of 2 semi-tractors and 2 belly dump trailers, and using the same amount of money that we had appropriated for this coming fiscal year to do that with.
And, the trailers and the semi trucks, I mean, the bottom dump trailers, they would be very useful, even if in the future we go ahead with phase one. We still need those trucks rather than having us have these tandems.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the purchase of it.
I second that.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Billy, good job.
You did a really good job, thank you.
Okay, Pete was here. Come on down, Mark.
Did you guys do coffee?
Okay, we have a pretty full agenda, as I told Mark, so please
Yeah,
go
that's right.
ahead. 15 minutes. Okay.
Hi, how are you?
And I know you've met with each of us individually.
So thank you again for giving us the time this morning. We appreciate it. As you know, since we've talked to all of you, we put together a new strategic plan, and we went through sort of the nuts and bolts of this with each of you individually. And I just wanted to review a little bit of that and then some specifics that intersect with the city and the county, so that we do have a request of you today. So this just comes from a PowerPoint here, and I thought it'd be easier to go through this together. As you might remember, there's 4 priority areas that you see on the second page here that we're focusing on. One of the big areas is to create a model for a resilient community. And we think this is a good time to do this for various reasons, but this sort of sets the framework for our plan and how it intersects with the city and the county. And then more specifically, if you go from left to right, the 3 other areas that we're focused in are the areas where we think are consistent with the mission of the Sierra Club, and also there are areas where we have expertise on our board. So the first area is transitioning to clean renewable energy. And this is consistent with the Sierra Club plan to move cities around the country towards 100% renewable by 2050. Michael Moore is our expert in this area, and he feels like we can achieve that even more quickly because we're ahead of the curve right now, our starting point. The second area is restoring vitality to basically our wild areas. And this is important, of course, for many different reasons. We don't want to lose the natural environment that we have, the woodlands, the wetlands, and the prairie lands. And of course, this is important for resilience because all of these types of ecosystems provide different kinds of services to us as humans. And they also harbor biodiversity. As we know from COVID, they're really important in terms of their intrinsic value. We need nature, and we've experienced this being locked up more than ever before. And they have economic value too. They can attract tourism, for instance. And then our last area is the area, our expert in this area is Steve Taylor, who's a horticulturist. He also sits on the city's Arbor Committee. And our fourth area is Mark's area of expertise, and that's transitioning to zero waste. And as we all know, and we've talked about, that every bit of waste that goes in the landfill is a cost to all of us for many different reasons, from the consumer side to the end point, the landfill. It's waste, and we want to be able to find a better system so less becomes of what we use and consume becomes waste on the other end. So, and excuse me, we went out to Semco the other day. It was very educational for us, and we're trying to map out what the whole system is and understand it, and then see if there are ways for improvement, diversion from the landfill, more reuse, recycling, repurposing, and less waste on the end. So the next slide is basically, this is just a way to understand. We have one of these for each of our 4 areas. There's only one in here. This is an example of transitioning to zero waste. It's just a way to understand what our plan looks like. We have the matrixed work plans for each of our 4 areas. And then this is sort of the simplified communication piece on that. So at the top, we just wanted to explain what our goal is, what we're trying to achieve here, what the problem is. Why is this something that it's become a priority for Sierra Club and we believe for our community? What's the problem? Explaining that. And then the project itself. So towards the bottom, you'll see in the green box on the left-hand side, this kind of explains the major steps of our project. And then on the right-hand lower corner here, and I probably should put these out so you can probably look over these here. This is basically what are the net results that we would like to see at the end of our 3-year plan, or these should be well underway. So that's sort of enough on our plan, but the big picture is this resilient communities, and we feel like this is not something that Sierra Club intends to do alone, nor do we feel like we can do it alone. We'd really like to see the cooperation of the city and the county, but also all the other organizations and individuals that are already undertaking programs and projects in our community. And how do we align ourselves together with the same idea of building this resilient community at the city and the county level? So as you can see on the left-hand side, it's just the investment is really about partnerships more than anything else. So that's why we've been meeting with you and so many other people from the Farm Bureau to the superintendent of Fairfield High School, school system, to teachers. We're really trying to bring everyone's head around this, and we've had nothing but really positive responses. It's also sharing the leadership on this, so nobody's singularly taking the lead, although there does need to be a coordinator on this. And it's really getting aligned on where we want to be. We have a lot of catch up to do. We had made a lot of progress at the city level through about 2015, and then it dropped off. And we've gotten behind in some of our sustainability markers, and we feel like we need to catch up, but also that we need to move ahead of the curve as well. You know, many people in this community look like me with gray hair, or whatever color I'm transitioning into, and that we need younger people coming in on the other end. We've seen so many communities around Iowa that are faltering because they don't have that influx. They don't have the jobs. They don't have affordable housing for people to come into the market, to build families within that market, to age within that market. And COVID, of course, taught us a lot about where our big gaps are in terms of equitable access to healthcare, for instance, to technology, which has been really important for kids in schools. So we're saying we need to attend to these weaknesses, but also build some more strength so that we attract people and have a vibrant community. And that's really what this is about. And that we're resilient to change. We've seen floods, we've seen droughts, we've seen derecho events, we've seen what's happened in Texas. These are all the warning signals of what could happen just in terms of climate. And then there's changes economically. So we just need to get ahead of the curve if we're going to be a vital community. And then the return on investment is just, you know, mostly it's partnering more than anything else. And the return on that is really to build a strong and diverse community economically in terms of who we're attracting demographically. So many communities around Iowa are already doing this. They've made a commitment to sustainability, or whatever you want to call it. Some call it resilience, some call it climate resilience, some call it climate change. It doesn't really matter to us, but this is just a sampling of some of those communities, both at the city and the county level.
Where is Troy County?
Troy, Iowa.
Well, there's a semicolon separating, which means the cities, and then Troy, Johnson, Troy
Semicolons in the
counties.
wrong place. Good catch.
Okay. It was bugging me here. I was reading this.
Yeah.
You know all of Iowa, and that's not one of the counties.
Right. There's 99 and there is no Troy.
And one of our asks for today is that we think it's really important to have a sustainability coordinator. Again, it doesn't matter how you coined this, but who's going to bring everybody together and help us build that vision? You know, the city had the Go Green plan, which expired in 2020. It's time to pick up on that and take it to the next level.
Do they have elements of that in their new comprehensive plan?
Yes.
So is that going to be the basis for this?
This
Or
is,
will it be a totally different plan?
no, it will be, we think in our a strategic plan would be a piece of that, but informally, we're proposing that and then build out beyond that. So it would be a broader plan.
What kinds of things do you see in the unincorporated areas of the county?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I guess that's what we would need to know.
That's
Right.
right.
Right,
Because the city is a city, MIU
right.
has a sustainability program. My initial questions that I would need answered, A, we don't have this in our budget. What the unincorporated area, what is that? Is it something that the farmers all plant cover crops? I don't know, I'm just tossing things out, or do
Right.
certain conservation practices? Is it certain things with watersheds? I don't know. Is it solar? Is it wind?
And so I think that our thinking on that is really why the county needs to sit at the table to help define resilience in those unincorporated
The
areas.
other challenge, having been through a 2080, as you well know, we're in a discussions with the city on a different issue. But whenever you have 3 entities, we would really need specifics on how that's going to look
Right.
operationally. Who's going to make the decisions?
Right. And of course, that's not up to Sierra Club, but we
Right.
did put together a sort of, if you will, draft job description, because we knew there needed to be discussion about that and some of the things that you would have to think about that. And this is an example of that job description. And it, oops, sideways.
We have about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second thing is then, one of the things that the sustainability coordinator would do is to put together a task force. And this task force would be an ongoing community-based task force. We have a huge amount of expertise in the community. And they would help direct this and define what is a resilient community, what are the parameters of that, and how are we going to achieve what that looks like. And I'll just go on from there. So so why now? And it's almost, it's already happening. MIU is committed to 1/3 of the cost of a sustainability coordinator for 3 years. And that's $15,000 that we're talking about. Tonight, the city council will propose a motion. We believe to vote on it tonight. It went into committee with a huge amount of support 2 weeks ago. So we'll hear tonight on what their commitment will be. We've asked for the same thing, $15,000 for 3 years. We've already identified library space as a potential desk for the sustainability coordinator. They volunteered that. And then on June 19th, we're having a roundtable where we're bringing organizations from across the community, from health to housing to the environment together. We've identified about 30 different organizations, and we're having a roundtable to talk about what does resilience mean to us, and do we see a platform, a way to move forward within our own missions, but also with the same overall goal in mind. And so this will be an important part of starting the collaborative process and also the support system for seeing this happen. We're not pointing the fingers at the city or county to make this happen. We're saying this is a collective effort, and we're trying to approach this differently than ever before. And then, the next slide, and I'll just leave this with you because I can't do this all in 3 minutes, but this is what we got the last time the city had a sustainability coordinator. And basically it leverages so many opportunities, particularly funding opportunities and other in-kind services. So we think that if you look at the cost of $45,000 a year and then what it can generate, it more than pays for itself. the possibilities. The next slide is just basically, we were there at one time. We were the leaders in sustainability, and we really have lost ground over the last 5+ years.
I know when we had the coordinator, part of his role was extension, and then part of it was city, is that?
Yeah, it was paid for by extension, but he's.
Half of the salary is paid by the city and half is paid.
So is there a way to
38,000.
get that kind of a position back again?
They don't do it anymore.
Okay.
No, Iowa State dropped out. That was part of grant funding to begin with. The grant funding that the city was getting ran out, and the city was trying to keep the coordinator with Iowa State and supplying local option sales tax money in order to come up with that other half of the salary. And using lost funds is not a sustainable way of creating a position or having an employee, because you don't know what's going to happen with that money from year to year. You know, and that's kind of the same thing with CARES funding, and also the America Act that we were talking about, that we're having difficulties in figuring out how we're going to start that program with. So we're not in a place, as far as I can see, where we can even promise any money at all at this point. The American Jobs Plan, you know, it talks about doing stuff for 10 to 15 years with new jobs and funding, but that funding beyond this first year, we don't know if it's going to happen anymore.
Right.
And so we start getting into a situation once again, once that first year is over with this kind of money, where we have to decide what we're going to do and whether we're going to be able to sustain it by getting money out of our budget, diverting it from something else that is a priority to this as a quote priority, and being able to still handle what we're doing over here, but take that money away and move it over there. And that becomes quite a headache for us around here. And again, the three of us work on those types of things rather than having an administrator over top of it, which also complicates the situation on top of it. So,
You've given us some good information. Yeah, just to tag on what Darren said. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add something. The eastern part of the county is serviced by Access Energy.
mhm.
And I see you don't involve them.
No, we would.
Yeah.
I just think if you do that, you know, it involves the whole county.
Yeah,
Yes,
our intention is to
absolutely.
be inclusive and,
Yeah.
And, you know, one way to think of the whole resilience conversation is not necessarily sustainability or resilience, but continuous improvement. It's the same thing. Where do we want to be in 10 years? Not just what are we going to do in the next year, or where are we going to be in 10 years? And we want somebody to have a focus on that in terms of the environment and resilience. Because, for example, the city just did this whole big thing about the sewer renewal. And had somebody had their eye on this, it's possible we wouldn't have plowed up 2 or 3 wetlands, which could have helped filter that water much more cheaply than the system that we ended up with. So we're looking for a long view, which we think, we understand your challenges with diverting money, but we feel like a private-public partnership that you would engage in would allow us to open the door for lots of different funding that could make up that difference. So thank you for your
Have
time.
you talked with Pathfinders at all?
Yes, in about 10 minutes.
Okay. Pathfinders is doing a lot.
Yeah.
with water quality,
Yeah.
and they just got a big grant. I would recommend, and they are one of the areas that we support, so.
I think, yeah, more than the money is the commitment there, and then can we find the money? And that's what we're looking for from the city and county. I think the city has made that commitment pretty strongly from the support we got at the city council 2 weeks ago. And if the county is on board, $15,000 a year, we feel like is not that hard to find, that it could be raised somehow. It's just, are you committed to this? Is this something, given all else that you deal with, that you see there's some return on this?
Even if the county could make some commitment. It's there to work out the differences between the different entities. also would go a long way towards making us a more resilient community. If we have a catastrophic event here, we had better be able to cooperate with each other.
Let's see how your conversation goes with Pathfinders.
Okay.
And I'll follow up with Ashley because that's one of my committees. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Susan mentioned
Way to go,
Farm Bureau. Do you have any comments?
Thanks a lot.
I'm not aware.
Did you meet with Farm Bureau locally?
We did, we met with Jonathan Rosen, but I understand he's.
Okay,
leaving.
alrighty,
I don't know who the next person is,
thank you.
but we'll forward them to you.
Okay,
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Ann.
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Moving on, discuss and consider pay raises for 2 seasonal employees for the County Conservation Board. This happens every year. And so they want to raise the hourly wage for returning seasonal employees, Matt, Dorothy, and Kristen Bernstead to $14 an hour for Matt and $11 for Kristen, $1 an hour increase. The Conservation Board would also like to hire Hannah Lyons and Lauren Snyder as seasonal employees at $10 per hour. So, you've got the information?
My comment is, that do they have the money in their budget?
Typically, they do.
Because with this, there's gonna be a lot of grass to be mowed this year.
I'm gonna give Sean a call and ask him. I'm surprised he's not here.
Yeah, I just wonder if they have the money in their budget.
Yes, I just got his email. Do you have his number?
That's what I was just gonna look at. I think I do. I guess I don't either.
Okay, let's go on with the agenda, see if he answers. I think it probably is, but it's a good question, Susie. Typically it has been, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it is. We'll come back to that. Discuss and consider disposal of system contractor's license for Wiley
Yeah,
Excavating.
Sean, Darren Hamilton.
And
We have, we're in our board meeting right now and we're discussing the pay increases for seasonal county employees, Matt, Dorothy, and Kristen Bernstad. Matt to $14 an hour, Kristen to $11, and also hiring Hannah Lyons and Lauren Snyder. We just wanted to know if there is money already in your budget so that you can give the 2 pay increases. Because I think,
Well, I'm guessing we're gonna have a turn back situation, but either way, we have enough cushion there. And if if we get in a bind, we normally just don't work them as long, but I think we're fine. I mean, that was basically when we have returning employees, we try to bump them up a little each year, and those aren't, I mean, I'm almost embarrassed sometimes what we pay, but we usually start at $10 an hour, and then if they return, we bump it up, and Matt's been working for us for several years, but so, yeah.
okay.
If the question is, do we need more money from you, we won't.
Okay.
That's kind of within our budget, but.
And that was the one question that Susie Drish had, if there was money in the budget for it, and it sounds like there is. So thank you very much, Sean, for being on with us for this.
Yeah, I I had a radio show for the chamber. I might have stopped up at the meeting, but,
No, that's all right.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Bye.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so the question was answered that yes, they do have the money in their budget in order to be able to do this, that, what was it, Matt Dorothy's been with the county for several summers now as returning seasonal help. And Kristen, I know this is her second or third year with the county as seasonal help. So these increases make sense. The extra 2 hires are ones that they would do anyway. But being first-year employees, I agree with the staying with the $10 an hour for a seasonal employee. So
So would you like to make a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve the pay raises for Matt Dorothy and Kristen Bernstad, and then also the hires of Hannah Lyons and Lauren Schneider.
Accept that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Discuss and consider disposal system contractor's license for Wiley Excavating LLC. And I know we all got an email from Dan Miller saying he had no problem with that.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion that we approve this.
All second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and consider reappointing Paul Corbin to Veterans Affairs Commission. I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. NACO membership. So I put that on there because, oh, maybe my first or second year, we were a, sorry, Mark, I skipped that. We'll do the tax abatement, sorry. Discuss and consider property tax abatement or suspension. You want to give us details on this one, Mark, our treasurer?
I talked to him last week or the week before. Total amount due right now, $344. It's $150 a year, so he hasn't paid for the last 2 years, plus the interest and miscellaneous stuff that's been added on. He's mentioned that he is having some sort of a financial hardship at the time. It would be eligible for tax sale next month if not paid. To be perfectly honest, I sympathize. However, I feel that whatever you three decide is going to be the precedent moving forward. And the question is, how many of these are you guys willing to, if you approve this one, you're gonna have a line out the door, I feel.
Okay. And Mark and I had that discussion last week, and the other point on this is Mark's willing to work out a payment plan.
Right.
So my recommendation is that the treasurer work out a payment plan with this individual and that we deny a tax abatement.
And we didn't have a tax sale last year for this kind of reason. I mean, I didn't have one so everybody could kind of keep up because of the hardship that COVID created.
And it's also my understanding that you're very willing to work with people for payment plans.
If they're showing a genuine effort in making some type of arrangement, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what we're here for. So as long as they're keeping me in the loop and making some sort of progress toward a zero balance, then I have some amount of leeway when it comes to that.
And typically, just for information, since we have one new member, usually in the past, if we would do something like this, we would have the DHS paperwork. We don't have that in this instance.
No, they don't qualify for DHS or to go through DHS with this. This has been brought to us previously from this same person, and they were given the same answer previously that no, we aren't going to abate the tax or suspend the tax. I would make a motion that we do not move forward with this and that we refer this person back to the county treasurer so that they could set up a payment schedule in order to get the back taxes moved up to date and not force them into a tax sale.
I'll second that.
Potentially.
Potentially, sorry.
Okay, I'll second that with the word potentially. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Discuss and consider NACO membership. It's $450 a year. That's a National Association of County Organizations. And the reason I put this on, when I first started in this position, we were a member, and at that time, the board decided they weren't getting the information they could get would come from ISAC. I can tell you NACO is directly involved with the Treasury.gov right now, actively interacting with them on behalf of counties with this American Rescue Fund plan. So I think it's well within our interest to spend the $450 on the membership, which will apply to all the county and entities. And there's some good information there. It's one of those things like any membership, you get out of it what you put into it, but they do have a lot of good information.
And the amount of money we're talking about is
$50, and it is
$450 for the annual membership.
Yeah, and I talked to Shannon, and yes, we have money in our budget.
Okay.
Is that from January to end of December? What was the?
I think it just would start. That's a good question. I don't know when the date would start. She sent me an email.
Yeah, I haven't seen any emails on
I
that.
haven't had a chance to send it.
So,
I just thought we should look at the time that's covered.
right.
You want to give me a minute? I can look it up. You want to go? I'll do that while we're doing some other things.
Okay.
Discuss and consider county engineer applicants. Okay. We're going to talk in generalities. Applicant, the first applicant and the second applicant. And so before I go any further, I have this email from NACO. It's dated 5/17, terms upon receipt. Oh, we get a county dues discount, so it's only $300, which is even better.
Right.
So it looks like it would start,
From July 1st.
I don't know, if you want this week.
If the bill is sent out in May, I'm certain that it's
I
going
have it
to.
right here, so all we need to do is authorize it and get it paid.
Right, but what I was gonna say is if it's sent out in May, usually they bill a month and a half prior to when the beginning of a contract would be. So that would be July, it would be on a fiscal year.
July to July.
Yeah, July 1st to June 30th.
Would that be your preference, or if they started at the date we paid it, would you rather have that? I can ask.
I think
what
it would be the same as our normal
Fiscal year.
budget cycle.
Right.
Okay,
So,
very good. Does anybody want to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we spend $300 in order to return to membership to the National Association of Counties.
I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, engineer applicants. So let's talk in terms of the first one and the second one we interviewed.
I'm out of here, I don't.
Okay.
And they did talk to John.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any comments? Or
Thanks, Joe.
Next steps?
Well, first, I think that, both the candidates came down. They made an effort to come and meet with us. We had good meetings with both of them. One might be a little stronger than the other one.
The second one?
Or
Just one is
just
stronger
one is
than the
stronger than the
other.
other. Are you wanting to talk about who to hire?
Mhm. Next steps. We gotta figure this out.
Well, I think we should go through the process of what
The
we've
full
already set up.
process of what we already started, which means
So do you want,
second interview with the
Mhm.
second candidate.
okay, and when would you
Just
like
as
to do
we
that?
are with the first.
Just as soon as we can.
Yep.
So what are your schedules like? Do you want to do a lunch dinner?
I don't have anything on next Monday.
Yeah, neither do I. And nor do
Yeah,
you.
he may though.
Yeah, next week I've got a meeting on Tuesday in the morning, and then I've got 2 meetings on Thursday. So Wednesday or Friday, either one would work for me.
That would be
The
second or
20,
fourth.
yeah, it would be June 2nd or the 4th. And I'm actually, I could do the 1st, 2nd, or 4th.
First, second, or fourth?
If we're doing a lunch meeting.
Well, that's my next question, lunch or dinner?
I would
And-
think we should shoot for the second.
And should we ask the person if he has a preference, because we did on the other one?
Right,
lunch or dinner?
we could
Yeah.
do that.
Okay. So any of those times, let me check.
Right.
That way we treated them both the same. It's
Exactly.
very important.
Rather
Yes,
than
it
making
is.
any decision right at this point in time, because we haven't completed the process yet. So,
No, thank
yeah,
you, appreciate
and then
it.
you'll let us know which one of those 3 days work.
Yeah,
Okay.
hopefully soon. Public comments. Oops, I'm sorry, committee reports.
I had no committee meetings last week.
I had the Semco meeting on, I believe it was Wednesday at the landfill. We were given an opportunity to tour the proposed expansion or improvements. And I would say that, again, that landfill looks so much better than it did 20 years ago.
I know you both have, well, I guess we went up there, I went up there years ago on a road tour with the committee, but both of you have each been on that committee, and it sounds like they do a really good job.
It's a very good committee. Everybody gets along really well.
Right, and the director up here is a tremendous person.
They have a good person.
Yes, yes. And donuts.
Okay, I'm going to talk briefly about mental health. Many of you heard on the news where the legislature passed the property tax change last week, and I can tell you it's controversial in the mental health governance board area. The concern, and I'm just sharing the concerns I heard there. You know, on one hand, the concern is long-term, what happens if the state gets tight on money? And where's the money going to come from? Because basically, as we all know, it's to come from property tax relief, which I think anybody that pays property taxes is excited about, potentially. That said, everyone knows if you're getting rid of one source of revenue, you've got to find it somewhere else. And so far, all we know is probably that's going to come from backfill, which the state started in 2013 to the counties to help fill in the gaps from some equalization changes on, I believe, commercial and residential properties. So the concern is that already, one, it has the last few years already started to decrease. So I guess we'll all be interested to see where this goes, and I don't think we know yet. So that was the main thing there. And let's see, that's probably the main one to talk about. Mostly the business as usual from the other ones. Debbie Durham was here a couple weeks ago, met with economic development. She was doing a tour of housing projects in Fairfield. So I was able to meet with her for a little bit. Yeah, that's the main thing. Okay. Motion for public comments. Any public comments? I'll let you look so you know what you're looking for.
We don't have any
Okay.
comments in the comment section.
Allow claims and approve reports. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nuisance properties, any updates?
No updates at this point in time.
Okay, very good. Motion adjourned.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
So moved. I second that.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Vote.
Wait a minute, are we,
All in favor? Aye.
wait,
Wait. We're just adjourning. Do you have anything to add on the Sierra Club? Okay.
Okay. I'm in favor of adjourning.
Yes.
okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.